Today we have DeAndre Brooks. He's the president and CEO of Freedom to Succeed and chair of the San Diego Gang Prevention and Intervention Commission. But before stepping into public leadership, he experienced firsthand the realities of incarceration, system involvement, and the fight for a second chance. Now he's helping others rewrite their narratives, building programs that prevent violence, disrupt cycles of incarceration, and create pathways for freedom that lasts. He brings experience, is proof that transformation isn't just possible, it's powerful. An honor to welcome DeAndre Brooks to the House of Burgess.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for having me at the House of Burgess, man. It's been a long time coming to be able to have an opportunity to connect with you and um, shed light on different topics and issues that are important to our community.
Yeah, I know you're super involved and you've been on both sides of the justice system, but just tell me, like, what's your story? How'd you get into work?
Yeah, I'm a San Diego native. I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s. So I was a victim of the crack epidemic, the war on drugs, and that sort of thing. All kind of connections with that to my family and just my upbringing in general. So that's kind of what I was indoctrinated into, right? And so there are a lot of ramifications that come along with that: gangs, violence, anger, and that sort of thing, which I ended up being involved in. And I ended up going to prison for 10 years, from 17 to 27, being tried as an adult, being back and forth in the foster care system and the justice system, and just trying to figure out who I am and find a sense of family. And, since then, I've been able to come home, transition, get my life on the right track, and get back to the community and hopefully help stop youth and different individuals from experiencing some of those same ramifications.
Okay, so you were in the justice system and then you had some sort of turning point. So what was that moment that
there's honestly been a couple of different turning points and stuff inside and outside, but I'll go ahead and start with inside. So inside, while I was there, I got charged with a gang-related offense. It was a fight that some of my buddies had committed, and I wasn't even present. So I was given an ultimatum by a detective at a substation, and they just said, one way or the other, we're getting a gang member off the streets. You can either cooperate with us or, we're going to do our tough on crime thing. So I ended up becoming a victim of that, right? And then I'm in prison one day, and I met someone from my neighborhood that had been in jail since 1986. And he's like, I called home and I heard that you're in here for something that you didn't do. Let me show you something, because you're putting your whole life, at risk for this stuff. And so he slid paperwork under his door with all these guys that I looked up to cooperating with the law and doing all these sorts of things that we're supposedly not supposed to do, right? And now I realize I'm in prison for 10 years and it was all fake, right? And so that was my aha moment and my transition in there. Like, I'm putting my life on the line and giving my all to this. And the individuals who I looked up to weren't necessarily doing the same thing. So he kind of woke me up, and that got me going in the right direction.
kind of crazy and gross that that cop said that to you? So, like, what do you think people in power don't understand about gang involvement and coming
Right.
from the streets?
Yeah. People are looking for a sense of family. People are looking for a sense of self, and the connection is something that's beyond them. It's no different than having a fraternity, having different subgroups within your organization, and being connected, right? And when it comes to gangs, you can just come as you are. You don't have to have accolades. You don't have to be specifically smart in a certain area or whatnot. You can just come as you are with all your baggage, with all your everything that you've gone through, and you're going to feel that same support within that type of institution, if that's what we want to call it, right?
Yeah.
So that's what ends up happening with a lot of individuals making that connection to that lifestyle. And those folks, it's non-judgmental. They could come as they are, and they're just really looking for that family type of structure or being able to find themselves within that madness.
And do guys have like a different, like, people have different reasons for, like, they're all different types of guys in a gang, right? So, like, my first cousin Brent Roscoe, rest in peace, he was a part of like a gang. Like, at his funeral was a bunch of Bloods that pulled up wearing all red.
Yeah.
But his mom, my aunt, she struggled with a few things. But our grandma, did very well. One of the first black millionaires in San Bernardino.
That's
He
right.
always had a place to fall back
Yeah.
on. Not that he necessarily had a great upbringing, but he didn't come from a bad family.
Right. Right.
What other types of guys get in the game?
Yeah. So I actually had this conversation a little bit with a friend of mine a couple of months ago because everybody's paths isn't necessarily the same in joining the gang, right? Some folks might come from a two-parent household or other protective factors that are there that typically keep people out, but then you still have folks who don't come from, the worst of the worst backgrounds, and they gravitate toward that lifestyle. And
Yeah.
that kind of just happens with wanting to fit in, wanting to be understood. We have a lot of social media stuff going on here. Things get marketed and promoted, make it seem like it's cool. And when you don't necessarily have control of your own thoughts and yourself, it's easy to get caught up into that type of reality right there, right? Like it's cool to do this or it's cool to do that, and you end up being in that type of situation. So it really doesn't matter what lifestyle you have or background you come from, you can still find yourself, in that mix.
So you find yourself in a lot of positions where you're able to kind of give this input and advise on, the culture, and you created a lot of credibility for yourself. So how do you create that trust that
Yeah,
other professionals don't even have?
yeah. So it's been a long time coming, being in spaces, learning to communicate, learning to adapt, learning how to express myself without reinforcing stereotypes, right? And being able to control the emotions that come along with the way certain communities are treated and how individuals are marginalized, right? So, like, I've been able to be in spaces to inform, individuals who are in positions of power and explain to them what people are going through. And I credit the San Diego County Probation Department in a huge way. They are definitely ahead of the curve when it comes to implementing cultural diversity programs, having formerly incarcerated and lived experience individuals programming inside of some of the facilities and being able to bridge that gap and make a connection with a lot of our youth and being able to just have an opportunity to lead by example when it comes to that.
Do you know Chief Tamika Nelson? Have you dealt with her at all?
Oh, yeah. Chief Tamika Nelson is definitely a class act. Assistant Chief Tabitha Wilburn, class act, right? They get it. They get it. And again, just giving folks the opportunity to come inside the juvenile hall facilities, connect with those youth. And then there have been like some warm handoffs, basically, in a sense, because those youth are coming back into the same communities, that some of the individuals who run programs in there are, also running programs in the community. But definitely.
Yeah, when I was working at the county, I would work with Chief Tamika Nelson a lot. She would call me her nephew.
Yeah. Yeah, she's super cool.
She's pretty cool. Been in the work for, I think she's been there for what, 2-3 years as a
Yeah,
chief. Try to
yeah,
make
doing
some
a great
changes.
job. I like the fact that she's been pushing hard with the, San Diego County Probation Department Citizens Academy. I actually just got
Yes.
an opportunity to, partake in that a couple of weeks back and, open my eyes to a lot of different things, especially coming from the lived experience side, and then
Yeah.
kinda getting an idea of what, probation is tasked with, all the different departments that they have, and just the work that they do. Definitely was eye opening. I know I had
Yeah.
yeah.
I went through it last year. It
Okay.
was it was good to, get an inside look at law enforcement.
Yeah, I think the thing that got me the most, we got a chance to go to the weapons facility and see some of the training simulations and the different situations that they have to go through, and then just dealing with folks, and that was life changing for me right there. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you only have a split second to make a decision, and it was just like, okay, let me put a little bit more respect on what y'all do
Yeah,
around
for
here.
sure. I did a simulation at SDPD last weekend,
Hmm.
and they actually put the belt on me, and I had to deal with a non-cooperative person I was supposed to bring into custody. And it just kind of lets you know that if somebody wants to do you harm, and this is what I learned from my cousin's death as well. If somebody has the intention to hurt you, they're gonna get you because they have the intention to kill. No matter how prepared you are, it looks like you might have froze there. Um, if somebody is if they're setting out to attack you that day,
Yeah, it's a whole different beast that you have to deal with. that definitely came to my mind. And as I had those thoughts, also at the same time, just like always trying to keep a balance because that's my thing, like how communities feel. And if you have like one bad apple, that's spoiling the bunch, right? It takes away from people being able to put themselves visually in their shoes at times and stuff. So, I mean, lots of training needed, lots of interactions such as that right there, bringing community members, lived experience individuals, and letting them experience, the department dynamics.
Yeah, for sure. So, you've dealt with cops, good and bad, or what's your experience been?
Um, I've experienced every single thing, and it always started off with like a clash at first, just going through life and going through trials and tribulations. Now being on the gang commission for the last like 10 years and being able to have an opportunity to have tough conversations that are respectful in different places, stuff has changed, my thought process and my reality all the way around has definitely informed that. I remember growing up being in the system, we would get in trouble for everything and everything was just punitive, punishment, 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 punishment. And then I had one correctional officer. I was maybe like 5 years into my sentence, and I was just used to clashing with officers and cops all the time. He finally stopped and just said, "Why are you so angry?" And I had never in all my years of being in the child care system, being inside the justice system, had anybody ask me, like, why am I angry? And I was flabbergasted. I stopped in that moment and had to actually pause and think, like, yeah, why am I so angry right there? So like that's a moment that I remember that I'm just like, whoa, like I had the opportunity to process all the different things that I've gone through and the why. So, he doesn't know. To this day, I don't even remember his name, but I credit him with giving me an opportunity to take a pause, take a breath, and take a step back because I was just used to the punitive stuff and the clashing, and that doesn't necessarily change anything. And that's not going to make someone want to um, get their thought patterns in order.
Hmm. Yeah, that reminds me of Rise.
Yeah.
Uh, you and I were in Rise together
Yes, sir.
a couple,
Cohort 9, Gen 9, Gen 9.
and a lot of people struggled with, there's the notorious spiral, but I think the whole experience is a big reflection. It's like a
Yes.
group reflection, and you were very vocal in that. Did you find that helpful?
Most definitely. Being in confined spaces with folks and having that type of energy, whether you're connected with it or not, or directly to the issue at hand, just the energy that comes along with it, it definitely helps inform conversations, processes, how to move forward with different things. And I've been able to use that in my own like life and career so far because I've been in a lot of different rooms, being formerly incarcerated, being African American, where I'm either the only one of the two, right? I could be in a space where it's 30 or 40 people and I'm the only black guy in there. Or I could be in a space where it's 30 or 40 people and I'm the only black guy or slash lived experience individual there. So it definitely took a while to get comfortable, get used to being able to process different energies that are there and then just become centered and find a way where we can all get on one accord and say, we all have the same vision, just a different way and understanding of getting there.
So what is it like for you to carry your story so publicly while also processing and healing
Right.
from it
It's
all?
super dynamic. I mean, I experience everything you can experience with it. It gives me credibility. It gives me opportunity to bridge the gap between all stakeholders, right? The community, law enforcement, justice system, any stakeholder in general. And then also it doesn't even allow me opportunity to make a mistake, like growing and living and learning because you're in the public light, right? At all times. And anything you do, it could be reinforced to stereotypes or, this is why we don't let live experience individuals in. Are they ready? Are they capable? Are they fully changed? Have they transitioned? So I mean, it's just a ball of everything. I'm at a point in the walk of my life where I've learned to embrace it a whole lot better. And this kind of segues into another pivotal moment inside my life. I was telling you about the prison incident and the paperwork and the guy, but maybe a couple of years ago, I had a buddy of mine that was still involved in the street life, and I had a conversation with him about going to a party, because every now and again I will go to parties just to show individuals that you can change, you can transition, and there's more to life than just the gangs. So I always felt like I wanted to make myself present for any youth or anybody that needed to be inspired or was struggling, to see that there's a better way. And so although I was trying to do that right there's so many different things that come along with that dynamic that goes against, that, right? So it's like
Yeah.
a catch 22. But
Yep.
I decided to say, you know what, I'm not going to this party that I'll typically attend every year because the energy was just, it wasn't conducive to what I was doing, right? I'm trying to be in the community. I'm working with professionals. I made a transition. Long story short, he was killed right after that party, and he died in a manner that we both talked about a week prior to that. It's like, hey, you could get in an altercation with someone, they're gonna be mad, you get in a fight, and next thing you could be shot. Yeah, so me and him spoke about reasons why not attending the party was, the best thing to do. Just saying like the energy isn't the same. You can get into a verbal altercation with someone that leads to a fight, and next thing you know, they may want to shoot and shots rang out. And that's exactly how it happened. It played out just
Mm.
like that. So that made my no strong even stronger, right? And my walk and my path into what I'm doing that much more solid and grounded, because I figured, why am I so concerned with what people think and how they feel with the work that I'm doing and the spaces that I'm in? And, we're killing each other, or you still are dealing with these types of dynamics there. So him losing his life was definitely a pivotal moment for me. And my nose was just stronger. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. Yes, I'm here in these spaces and trying to make a difference, but
Wait, somebody lost their life at the party?
what's that?
Somebody lost their
Yeah,
life at the
yes,
party?
he lost his life a week later. We were talking at a barber shop a week prior to that about just not going to the party and being around, the energy and those types of
Mm.
individuals. He said he wasn't gonna go. I said I wasn't gonna go. I stuck to the script and did not go, and he went, and then that's exactly what happened. He had an altercation, verbal altercation, a fight, and then he was shot. And so for me, being a lived experience individual that comes from that background, the lifestyle and everything, that was always huge. I've always wanted to do the right thing, but I also wanted my community to realize and understand that there's ways to go about that without quote unquote selling them out, right? Because that's like a huge deal. A lot of folks come from those types of backgrounds, and they may have done something that they weren't supposed to do, or they went against whatever codes there are, and then all of a sudden they want to do community work and everything, and so they get shunned upon. They get looked at
Mm.
and just ostracized, right? So me being able to make it through, all of those different processes without doing anything that will ostracize me or get me looked down on, it was always
Mhm.
hard just trying to keep a balance of what I'm going here and this is my path and I'm trying to grow, but I'm concerned about what you guys are going to think, what you're going to say, what does this look like fighting different battles for policies and initiatives and things like that, and having to meet with our police chief, our district attorney, being on the commission with the sheriff and everyone else on there, like people looking like, what's going on? They automatically think you're going to be having meetings about raids and setting people up and different things like that. And that couldn't be further from the truth, right? But I used to have to grapple with what does this look like if I'm at the library in this meeting and I'm around 7 or 8 law enforcement officers. So that was hard for me. But after my buddy was killed, I was just like, I know my heart is in the right place. I'm doing the right thing. It's hard to even explain to those individuals what civic engagement looks like. So I just became more stronger in my walk, and my nose have been stronger after that. So that probably was the most pivotal moment. And I also was able to take that, right, and build a nonprofit organization that's tied to some of that called Freedom to Succeed. So that came about. Co-founded it with my partner. Shout out Patricia Franklin. Me and her were doing restorative justice circles inside our East Mesa detention facility. So as things like this are occurring in my life and I'm navigating, I'm sharing this with the young kids in there who are doing time, part of gangs, part of the lifestyle, and just saying like, hey, you're going to have to navigate different challenging situations like this. And sometimes it's going to be hard to do. So just explaining to them the process, the different emotions I was feeling and things like that from that. that's helped, inform their reality and inform their future, as well as having another situation where, I received a phone call a couple of years ago as well to help somebody that had been attacked and violently beaten. And I'm like, my lifestyle isn't that anymore, brother. I can't do that. But I did feel some type of way because when I was younger, I've called on this individual for much worse situations and they were there for me. So to have to tell somebody no, that it's came through in more of a dire situation at a time, uh, I felt all these different things, but being able to be in there doing restorative justice circles and walking through this with some of those youth, so that they don't have to experience these types of things, or they they have an idea of what it's going to look like and what it's going to feel like at the end. So Freedom to Succeed came about from that, just being able to like tell stories. Now we do simulations about different realities that our youth face, and hopefully give them a chance to not go in the wrong direction.
Wow. So I had an experience that was similar when I was in high school. I had pretty much this business scheme. I was throwing parties at people's houses, charging at the door, then we charged at the bar. That's how I was making my paper when I was a teenager. Some dudes had a little bit less to lose. I don't know what I was doing. They wanted to, I was planning it with them, and they wanted to do it themselves, right? Take the middleman out. And I decided that I wasn't gonna continue with the parties. We just call them wild and wasted or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but one of my best friends went, and he got into it with a dude from Delman Height Bloods, I think, and it went really bad.
Yeah.
He ended up getting into it. They had like a decent fade, I guess, and then I couldn't take it and came
Right.
and meleeed him from the back.
Ooh, yeah, that's
Hurt him really
typically
bad.
how it goes, man. It's typically how it goes with arguments. It's pride, it's ego. It's a nice little fade that goes down and transpires, and a lot of folks can't deal with that right there. Like I've
Yeah.
seen that numerous of times. A guy loses a fight, and the pride and the ego is bruised, and then that's that next step and next level. But I try to tell our youth all the time, and I just reminded them last week in our restorative justice class that you can be in a situation in 10 or 15 seconds can inform your life for the next 30, 40, or 50 years, and you're just gone,
Yeah.
right? So to have them in a space to be able to pause and think like that and be able to communicate in that way to them is huge. And I know it's going to go a long way. And that's the power of having like lived experience programs and individuals in these spaces. That's why I said huge kudos to the San Diego County Probation Department because they get it. They have a nice balance and flow, and are able to allow for, conversations like that to take place in a healthy way and a healthy manner. Because I don't know too many people who are coming in and just, speaking to it just like that, like 10 or 15 something. This is going to inform your life for 30 or 40 years. Like you're mad and then something like this ends up happening. And then I also lead with, when I talk to a lot of the youth, like, something that's worth more than $1 million, and they're always like, what? Because everybody is sending money. And I'm like waking up every day and not having to worry about going to jail. Right. And then they pause, and it really, really hits because you can't put a price tag on something like that when you're dealing with folks that have experienced all sorts of trauma, involved in gangs, and they're constantly just seeing this cycle play out continuously, and they're a part of it. Right. And so I like to lead with that. It definitely gets them to thinking and informs the relationship building process.
Yeah, those are great nuggets to impart upon young men coming up. I think it's hard too when you have the ability to protect and people have protected you. And those moments come where you can show your muscle, but you have to restrain yourself so you can achieve a
Yeah.
much bigger goal.
Yeah,
But it
for the
hurts.
greater good. I mean, life is what do they say? Life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it. 90% of how you respond, things are gonna happen and take place, but we have to put a huge emphasis on how do we respond to these different situations that, come about.
Yeah. Like I've always said, you can become anything. A person can become a doctor if they can move life out of the way, but life is gonna happen. So it's strategizing for those hard moments, the temptation, you know, negative influences. All if you can just wave a wand and get rid of all that stuff, yeah, you can walk into greatness. You can become president of the United States.
Yes.
But life's just not like that. So you have to make these these hard choices all the time. What do you think the biggest lesson you've learned in launching Freedom to Succeed?
The biggest lesson I've learned is that, if you're passionate and you have a vision and you just keep going, everything is going to fall into place, right? Like I had no idea how to start a nonprofit organization. I haven't had anyone in close proximity to me to even explain what that looks like or any of the process. So it's kind of like going out on a limb. And a lot of individuals do that in different areas and different aspects of their life, but it's scary and then they just stop, right? I like to use fear as an acronym, false evidence appearing real. It stops us, and everything is on the other side of fear, right? In order to be able to be successful, in order to be great, you have to conquer those feelings and those stops to get to the next level. And that's the biggest lesson that I learned. Like, well, how is funding going to come? What opportunities are going to be there? Is this going to resonate? You know what I mean? With the community, is this going to resonate with different stakeholders that are involved, right? So
Mhm.
constantly, kind of going through those motions, being able to continue to flow, and then seeing things continue to come together, even after, I've been through a couple of different no seasons, a couple of different rough seasons with it, but opportunities are coming about.
False evidence appearing real.
Yes, sir.
How do you use that?
Yeah, it allows me to keep going. I also reflect on all the different times and situations to where I felt like, I was afraid and things were there as barriers, right? And just making it out. Like I was in prison with 2 strikes at 17 years old, caught up in gangs, and I used to be scared shitless in there at times. And I don't know if we can cuss on here, not my bad, but just
Yeah, no, you're
gotta be authentic, right? And
yeah, for
almost
sure.
struck out like 2 or 3 times and they're involved in gang politics, having 2 strikes and, being involved in 2-on-1 assaults or, being told you have to do X, Y, and Z because somebody is there. Those are all opportunities at DA referrals, right?
Mhm.
Or like if somebody gets into it with the officers in there and you're black and you're standing around, you have to help. If you don't help, you're gonna get stabbed or worse,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
like navigating all of those different things and going through the motions and being able to come out from that, that definitely informs me when it comes to anything else that I'm in fear of, right? I'm just like, man, if I can
Yeah.
make it through that, man, I got this. And then just being able to to take in, right, each of the times and situations that I made it through. That's the first thing that I reflect back on every single time.
Yeah, jail seems like prison seems like a scary place. I've toured most of San Diego County facilities. What's it like in there culturally? I mean, I know they separate by race. There's a lot of race things.
Yes.
Like,
So
what is that?
it's crazy, right? I actually was just talking to my friend, colleague, April Laster from Open Heart Leaders about this, right? They have a dope program, counseling program for formerly incarcerated men and women to go through there and kind of just get on track. And so we were just talking about that after her gala. And I was like, you know what? I never realized that the conditioning that I got going in there at 17 and coming out at 27, and it was all racially segregated. Like I only lived with African Americans or celled with them, right? All gang members, nobody outside of that. So it kind of informs my interactions today where I'm a little uncomfortable when I meet new people. I mean, I can go through the formalities. Hey, how's it going? How are you? But I have to get into a space to where I see that they're non-judgmental when it comes to backgrounds and lifestyles in order for me to open up, flow, and get comfortable. But I never
Yeah,
realized that was a thing. Like I can go somewhere and it's like, oh, so I'm the only black person here, or I'm lived experience here, and not knowing that, we have more things in common with folks than we don't. But being segregated, being separated for that many years and only knowing gangs and then coming home, it's kind of hard to interact for me personally when it comes to other races or other people until we end up finding that common ground. And then it's just
yeah.
normal.
Should it be like that? Do you think it should be separated by ethnicity?
No, most definitely not. I mean, there are lots of challenges that's coming about with that right now because they have stopped that, but it's just been so many different riots and so many different things taking place when it comes to them trying to stop that segregation and get people housed together now because it takes a while to undo 70, 80 years worth of conditioning. Everybody has
for
just been
sure.
segregated in there, and that's the way that they've been doing it. And then, within a 2, 3 year or 5 year process, it's going to be all kind of ramifications that come about from that. I'm trying to use the phone, and this guy is a lifer with like 2 or 3 life sentences, and he's getting into with one of the officers. And if he does something, then I have to do something as well. And if I don't, then I'm going to get stabbed or hurt really badly. So mind you, I'm like, I have 2 strikes the whole time. They're going to strike me out or throw me away, and I've been in here since I was 17. So I was just praying right then and there that he didn't do anything. They had like a little standoff in the spat. He was in the officer's face, and he ended up just walking back to his cell. And I didn't want to go outside or come out of my cell for like a month straight after that, because I was like, my whole life just flashed in front of my eyes, right? I'm
Mhm.
like, I was just in a situation. And at that time, I wasn't strong enough to say no, because I'm like, if I don't do this, then I'm going to be hurt on this end right there. Making it through different situations like that, again, informs the work that I do in my reality today when it comes to like just having experiences like that a lot of people wouldn't be able to, fathom, or wouldn't have themselves in that actual situation.
Yeah. And so today, I help run the Commission on Police Practices. You're the chair of the Gang Prevention and Intervention Commission. How do we balance true accountability with true opportunity?
Yeah. Just looking at intervention and prevention work as being one, right? Intervention and prevention work being one, being able to get folks connected to the civic engagement process and have a voice. Coming to those meetings, getting on the agenda, or just making a public comment to be able to, bring the voice of the voiceless to those platforms. That helps with everything, and then to be able to advocate and see real change taking place. So like we're both in unique situations. We both get it. We understand public safety. We understand the balance, but also the fact that people's voices just need to be heard, right? And a lot of times you see people being violent and vulgar toward our law enforcement and our public safety professionals, but that's because they're mad, they're irritated, they don't understand certain things. Communities are being policed in a certain type of way, and there's no chance or opportunity for them to be able to speak to that. So it comes out in a negative manner and way. And I think with both of us having that understanding, right, and knowing what folks are going through, we're kind of the bridge to that.
Yeah. Um, so are there any programs that help people speak, give opportunity to process and speak out loud? I know there's
Yeah,
like counseling
right.
program.
Well, I mean, I like Rise San Diego. Us being, graduates of Rise San Diego. Rise San Diego is huge. San Diego Pillars of the Community is huge. They do great work there because they meet folks right where they're at, whether they consider to be gang members or, non-active gang members or whatnot. They're treated with decency. They're given political education classes and get an opportunity to, kind of mobilize and take on civic engagement. So I'll definitely say,
I want to say, I want to say this is my, I had to
yeah,
pivot a little bit. This is my rise.
yeah, yeah. This your platform on here for it too, as well. Yeah, House of Burgess. Let's not forget that, right? Definitely
Sure.
House of Burgess. And I like the balance that you have with this and the different individuals that you've brought on so far. I got a chance to see the previous interview before this and whatnot, and I was taken away by the experience that the former death investigator, or I don't know if he's still doing it, had. Look forward to
Hmm.
his book out.
Yeah. Shout out to Paul Parker, man. He's got a brilliant story, and he really gets it too. He gets the balance. Um, so I asked him a similar question. I said, like, what's your message to the system? If you had a captive audience of judges, police chiefs, policymakers, what would you tell them about the system or, justice that actually works?
Implementing restorative practices along with lived experience. That would be the main thing that I would say there, because it helps bridge gaps. It helps with intervention and prevention work, and it shows a united front. And we all know teamwork makes the dream work, right? We know we can arrest our way or jail our way out of different situations, but when we have an opportunity to expose folks to something that can potentially break their cycle and the cycle, we all have the obligation to be able to do that. But just utilizing more restorative justice practices and lived experience. And that's one of the ways that I've been able to get into our juvenile hall facilities. I've been running restorative justice circles for over 2.5 years now. And then we also just implemented some financial literacy workshops as well. So me having lived experience, being able to captivate those youth when I get in there is everything. I know I had an experience maybe like 3 weeks ago to where I was supposed to be in one of the roughest units inside our East Mesa detention facility with some of our most vulnerable youth who are acting out, right? Got in that classroom and started talking about financial literacy, and everybody's antennas went up, right? All these so-called gang members and hard asses in here, they're captivated, right? They want to know what a 401k plan is now all of a sudden. Okay, how does retirement work? How do you start a business? What kind of business loans can you have? How do you build your credit? And me having those different experiences of having to navigate that after being released from prison, I'm able to inform, they're thinking a whole lot more. And it's nice to see those light bulbs go off. That's where I really get the joy out of the work that I do, when people realize that they're human beings as well too. And it just boils down to exposure. You don't know what you like or what you're into until you get exposed to it. I've taken youth to go hiking over at Torrey Pines or Cowles Mountain, and then I see that light bulb go off, or they're just like, "Oh, this is beautiful. This is a nice moment of peace and tranquility to take in." And I'm like, "Yeah, you see that? You're human." You know what I mean? Whether it be fishing, kayaking, rock climbing, just constantly putting them in different situations, going on different outings and trips to meet different public safety officials and things like that. Like, they need that and it's needed. So there should definitely be more programs that allow for that type of exposure, because people don't know what they're into or what they like or what their potential is unless they're exposed to it. And a lot of us have to see things to believe things, right? So
Yeah.
wow, that's why I love this work. That's why I'm into it. And even with the some of the trials and tribulations I've gone through, some of the times trying to get my walk and my path as straight as possible, I love those experiences and wouldn't change them because it informs what I do.
It was interesting you said, you told the youth that you're human.
Yeah.
Like, of course, you're going to enjoy other things than what you're used to. There's more to life.
Right, right.
Wow. And I love that you're doing that work, because I talked to another justice expert, and she said education in prison is the number one anti-recidivism tool.
Yeah, most definitely, man. That's connected to my organization, Freedom to Succeed, as well. So, like, mind you, starting Freedom to Succeed, I wanted to be able to professionalize the lived experiences of individuals. So, everybody at Freedom to Succeed is formerly incarcerated college students, whether they graduated from San
Mhm.
Diego State, attended San Diego State, Cal State, San Marcos, UCSD, USD, and our community colleges as well. So, taking efforts to disrupt the school to prison pipeline, let some of our most vulnerable youth see individuals who look like them. It helps them to realize that, there's a possibility and an opportunity to go to college and succeed. So education is definitely it. I'll let them know that this is how I've been able to transition. I came home with 2 strikes. It was really, really hard to get a job or do anything. And I decided to go to school. And then, like, having struggles with technology and that sort of thing, I didn't let it stop me. That was part of that fear, that false evidence appearing real, right? Not being afraid to ask for help. A lot of individuals who come from different paths and walks, and this is a human thing in general, don't necessarily want to ask for help. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. But when you actually do that, you're conquering that fear, right? And everything being on the other side. So that's been huge.
Love it, man. They say no one's free until we're all
We're all
free.
free. No one is free until we're all free. And, it starts basically just with conversations like this and being able to um, agree or disagree in a respectful manner. That's a lot of times where things go wrong, where folks are, a little heated, argumentative, and they're not able to maintain respect and balance during hard, tough conversations all the way around. And
Yeah.
I think that's the key. The key to everything is being able to sit back, being able to listen, whether or not you agree wholeheartedly or not, but just understanding that everything is a dichotomy, right? It's that or this or that. It's a flip side to everything. And, our vantage points will be different, but at the end of the day, what we're trying to get to is the same place.
Mr. Brooks, you're evidence that you can go through hard things and will your way through and become a success and even help others. I appreciate you for for taking the time to sit down and talk on this platform. And hopefully people see this and they know that through your story, anything's possible.
Yeah, for
And
sure, for sure. And I appreciate you for having me once again. This platform is amazing to be able to give a voice to different situations like this. And before I go, I just want to say that, I do have a book coming out as well. It's called Faces of Resilience. And I'm taking formerly incarcerated individuals who are all successful, majority of here in San Diego, who are in the nonprofit world, the business world, and all kind of different spaces that have made transitions. And I just want to be able to get our youth and our community to be able to connect to those stories because they're needed. Seeing is believing, right? And when people have hardships and tribulations that they came out of, a lot of people who are dealing with those same things don't necessarily think that there's an outcome. So Faces of Resilience is coming soon. And my social media, DeAndre Brooks at Facebook, DeAndre Brooks at LinkedIn as well, and Freedom to Succeed SD on Instagram, and Freedom to Succeed on Facebook.
appreciate you, DeAndre. I'm looking forward to reading that book.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna be a lot of good perspective in that. So let me know when it's out, man. I'm happy to put my hands on it.
Will do. I'll
Thank
give
you.
you make sure you get an autograph and signed copy of that, man. Peace and
Yeah,
blessings to you.
yeah. Yes, sir. Appreciate it.